जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना। यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना। यमुनातिरावनचारी। यमुनातिरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। गोपी जनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना। यमुनातिरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So, we are reading from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 11, Calculation of Time from the Atom, text number 18. Maitreya Uvacha Kritam Treta Dvaparam Cha Kalischeti Chaturyugam Divyair Dvadashabir Varshaihi सावधानं निरूपितम्। मैत्रेय उवाच कृतं त्रेता द्वापरं च कलिश्चेति चतुर्युगम् दिव्यैर्द्वादशभिर्वर्षैः सावधानं निरूपितम्। मैत्रेय उवाच कृतं त्रेताद्वापरं च कलिश्चेति चतुर्युगम् दिव्यैर्द्वादशभिर्वर्षैः सावधानं निरूपितम्। मैत्रेय उवाच कृतं त्रेताद्वापरं च कलिश्चेति चतुर्युगम् दिव्यैर्द्वादशभिर्वर्षैः सावधानं निरूपितम्। मैत्रेय उवाच कृतं त्रेताद्वापरं च कलिश्चेति चतुर्युगम् दिव्यैर्द्वादशभिर्वर्षैः सावधानं निरूपितम्। माताजी। मैत्रेय उवाच कृतं त्रेताद्वापरं च कलिश्चेति चतुर्युगम् दिव्यैर्द्वादशभिर्वर्षैः सावधानं निरूपितम्। मैत्रेय उवाच कृतं त्रेताद्वापरं च कलिश्चेति चतुर्युगम् दिव्यैर्द्वादशभिर्वर्षैः सावधानं निरूपितम्। मैत्रेय उवाच Maitreya said, Kritam, the age of Satya, Treta, the age of Treta, Dwaparam, the age of Dwapara, Cha, also, Kalihi, the age of Kali, Cha, and Iti, thus, Chaturyugam, 4 millenniums, Divyaihi, of the demigods, Dwadashabhihi, 12, Varshaihi, thousands of years, Sa Avadhanam, approximately, Nirupitam, ascertained. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Maitreya said, O Vidura, the 4 millenniums are called the Satya, Treta, Dwapara and Kali Yugas. The aggregate number of years of all these combined is equal to 12,000 years of the demigods. Purport. The years of the demigods are equal to 360 years of humankind. As will be clarified in the subsequent verses, 12,000 of demigods' years, including the transitional periods, which are called Yuga Sandhyas, comprise the total of the aforementioned 4 millenniums. Thus, the aggregate of the above mentioned 4 millenniums is 43,20,000 years. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurur Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we are discussing from this chapter, which is titled as Calculation of Time from the Atom. So I am sure many devotees would have spoken about the nature of time. I will just also touch on this topic little bit. So here Srila Prabhupada talks about, or Maitreya is talking about the divisions of the yugas and the yuga sandhyas. Every yuga is divided into three parts. The first is the yuga sandhya, then there is the yuga, and then there is yuga sandhyamsha. So the yuga is divided into three parts: 10, 80, 10. So if Kali Yuga has 4,32,000 years, then 43,200 years is the yuga sandhya, where in that yuga sandhya there are characteristics of this yuga and the previous yuga. And in the yuga sandhyamsha, which is again 43,200 years, there will be characteristics of this yuga and the next yuga. And in between this 80% is the pure yuga. Okay. So right now we are in the Kali Yuga's yuga sandhya. Kali Yuga, proper Kali Yuga has not started yet. Still we have a lot of time for proper Kali Yuga to start. So yesterday His Holiness Bhakti Charudeshna Maharaj was again and again quoting this verse about the nature of time. Ayur harati vaipumsam udyan astam chayan asau tasya rite yat shanonita uttama shloka vartaya, where it is mentioned that every rising and setting of the sun, it decreases the duration of life of everyone by one day, except for those who are engaged in discussing Krishna Katha. Tasya rite yat shanonita uttama shloka vartaya. So now this raises a question: does it mean that those who have started discussing Krishna Katha will not die at all? This question arises. The answer is yes. There is no death in a particular sense. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti gives, he says, just like the wealth of those who have good character is imperishable wealth. Why? Because others will spend it in unlimited pleasures, whereas a person with good character will save it. Manusmriti also says that any charity given to a non-Brahmana, in next life you will get the same amount back. If you give it to a half-qualified Brahmana, you get double the amount in the next life. If you give it to a proper Brahmana who has studied the Vedas, you get infinitely more wealth in the next life. So even though in one sense, if you see you are taking the money out of your pocket and you are losing that money, but it is not lost, you get it. So in the same way, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says that the devotee blessed with long life by Krishna, not by karma. So the moment someone takes up to devotional service, immediately Krishna picks that person from the realm of karma and puts him in his jurisdiction. So they don't have rebirth, means they don't have a birth which is controlled by karma. That's what it means. But they may have birth which is orchestrated by Krishna for the purpose of those devotees to complete their practice of bhakti and attain prema. So therefore the devotee's life is not stolen away by time. But still, Krishna will allow the devotees to undergo old age, disease, and death, so that the opinion of the others, like the Gyanis, Karmis, etc., is not destroyed. What is their understanding?
Their understanding is that till you die, till this body is, till the soul leaves this body, there is no, the prarabdha karma is still there, is their opinion. But this is not the opinion of the Vaishnavas. So, just so that their opinion is not destroyed, Krishna allows a semblance of disease according to karma, old age according to karma, death according to karma, rebirth according to karma. Everything happens. And it looks like everything is happening according to karma. But practically everything is orchestrated by Krishna for the devotees. Okay. So therefore, in the beginning of somewhere in the conversation between Mother Devahuti and Kapiladev, Mother Devahuti asks, amongst various things, she has to know about the path of bhakti in detail. She wants to know about the other paths. But she also says, I want to know about the nature of karma and the nature of time. So, the question is, okay, why does she want to know about karma? And why does she want to know about the nature of time? She wants to know about the nature of karma so that she understands that everything in this material world as given by karma is perishable. So therefore there is nothing to be attached, nothing worthwhile to be attached in this material world. So she asks about karma so that she can practice bhakti with a sense of detachment. And she asks about time so that she can perform bhakti with a sense of urgency, understanding the relentless nature of time. So, time has many characteristics. Two prominent characteristics are mentioned. Or you can say three prominent characteristics. Kapiladev says, Prabhavam Paurusham Prahuhu. He calls that time is a power of the Supreme Lord. Kalosmi lokakshayakrit pravruddho, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Another characteristic is Kalam eke yato bayam ahankara vimudasya kartuhu prakriti yushaha. He says that for a jiva who has come in touch with prakriti and has started identifying with that prakriti, Kala induces bhayam, fear. So it induces fear. And the third characteristic that is mentioned is Prakriter gunasamyasya nirvisheshasya manavi cheshta yataha sa bhagavan kala iti upalakshitaha. Time agitates the three gunas during the time of creation. Because just prior to creation, in the pradhan, the three modes are in a state of equilibrium. And as long as the three modes are in a state of equilibrium, creation cannot start. Because the modes have to become active. So that activation of the modes is done by the Kala Shakti. Kalat gunavyatikaraha parinamat swabhavatah karmano janma mahatah purushadishtita dabut. Second canto of Bhagavatam, Srila Shukadeva Goswami says that how Kala agitates the three modes and gets the creation to start. So, here we will talk about the importance of time in the life of the jivas. So in the life of the jivas, time plays two roles. Two different types of portfolios time carries. The first portfolio is with ordinary materialistic people. Time acts as the carrier of their karma. So because it acts as the conveyor belt of their karma. So that creates fear. Yam yam artam upadatte dukkena sukha hetave tam tam dunoti bhagavan puman shochati yatkrite, Kapiladev says. Whatever a living entity earns with great endeavor, in a moment is taken away by time. Why? If the karma is not favorable. Okay. So time instills fear because for ordinary people, time carries their karma. And what that karma will bring, there is always uncertainty. This uncertainty creates fear. What is going to come next, we do not know. because not everything is dependent on our endeavor. We know that anyone who has consciously spent some time in the material world knows that endeavor alone does not matter. There is something that is predestined. So, because one does not know what is the future like the next moment, that uncertainty causes fear, and time carries that uncertainty. But uncertainty does not always need to cause fear. For example, if you are in the Western world, when you are celebrating Christmas, every year the father dresses up as Santa Claus and brings some gift. Okay. The child does not know, the child knows that there is some gift coming, but he does not know what is going to come, what the Santa Claus is going to bring. So there is uncertainty, but that uncertainty does not cause fear, it causes excitement. Why? Because there is trust in the benevolence of Santa Claus or benevolence of one's own father. So for devotees, time carries Krishna's anugraha. Tattenu kampam susamikshamano bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvag vapurbir vidadan namaste jivetayo bhukti pade sadayabak. That is the nature of, that is the disposition of the devotee. Susamikshamanaha. Ikshamanaha means he sees. Samikshamanaha means he completely sees. Susamikshamanaha means without a doubt, he is able to clearly see Krishna's hands in every situation of his life. How Krishna is orchestrating in such a way that I can go closer to his lotus feet. So therefore, when a devotee clearly sees Krishna's hands, even though there may be uncertainty, that uncertainty will not necessarily lead to undue fear, or rather should not lead to undue fear, ideally. So that's why Hridvag Vapurbir Vidadan Namaste. With his heart, words and body, he again and again expresses his gratitude to Krishna. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Krishna. Like that. So that does not necessarily cause fear. Even though Krishna's reciprocation with devotees is not very stereotyped. Always. Shri Bhishma Dev says, Nahi asya karhichit rajan puman veda viditsitum yad vijignyasaya yukta muyyanti kavayopihi. Even the most intelligent people are completely bewildered about what Krishna is going to do next. Krishna is handling my case, that trust is there. But how is he going to handle? What is going to come next? There is no, we do not know. Krishna says, Yasyaham anugrinami harishe tad dhanam shanaihi. If I feel especially merciful towards you, I will take your wealth away. And all your relatives will abandon you. But even that is not compulsory. That is only one way by which Krishna shows his mercy. You can see the case of many, many Rajarshis like, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj. They said, no, but Krishna said, please take it. Take the wealth. Take the following, everything. So it's not very stereotyped. Krishna will not necessarily always take away or always give. In whatever form it comes, we do not know. But because a devotee who has trust in Krishna's benevolence, Hridvag Vapurbir Vidadan Namaste Jivetayo Muktipade Sadayabhak. He keeps saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, Krishna. Whatever you are doing it because you want me to approach your lotus feet more than what I want. Okay. So, time does not always carry karma. It carries karma for the non-devotees. For devotees, it carries Krishna's anugraha, Krishna's desire. That is why when Yudhishthira Maharaj was, Bhishma Dev says, Aho kashtam, aho anyayam, yadyuyam dharmanandana. What kind of inauspicious, not inauspicious, what kind of troubles you have had to go through, O Pandavas? What could be the cause? He says, Yatra dharma suto raja, gadapanir vrikodarah, Krishno astri gandivam chapam suhut Krishnas tato vipat. He says, there is no way that your suffering is due to karma, because you are guided by Dharma Sutta. Yudhishthir Maharaj, who is the son of Dharma. He knows everything about Dharma and Adharma. There is no way he will allow you to act in an adharmic way. So therefore your suffering cannot be due to your karma. Gadapanir vrikodarah. And you are aided by powerful Bhima. Krishna astri gandivam chapam. And the skillful Arjuna. Suhrit Krishnas. And not only that, Krishna himself is your well-wishing friend. Always with you. Tato vipat. But still you are getting suffering. It means tasmadidam daivatantram yavasya purusha rishabha. Understand that this is the plan of Krishna. He wants to accomplish something through you. And because you are surrendered devotees of Krishna, you should be happy that Krishna is utilizing you as an instrument to accomplish his desire. Okay. So, this is important. Therefore, time does not always carry the karma, and it does not necessarily have to instill fear. So, devotees should have the trust that even though there may be uncertainty in my life, but Krishna is handling and Krishna is omnibenevolent. He knows what he is doing and he is doing the right thing for me. Hridvag vapurbir vidadan namaste. Jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhakt. Such a person becomes qualified to inherit the kingdom of God. Okay, like that. So, but there is a third dimension of time. One is the carrier of karma. Second is carrier of Krishna's anugraha. Now, in the spiritual world, there is a third dimension of time, which we call a spiritual time. And oftentimes we hear that in spiritual time, there is only present. There is no past, there is no future. You have heard this? Right? So what does that mean? Does it mean that in the spiritual world, morning remains morning, or afternoon remains afternoon, or night remains night? Is it like that? No. You do have the eightfold pastimes. You have the morning pastimes, you have the midnight pastimes, you have the noon pastimes, everything. Time moves. But what does it mean that it is always in the, time is always in the present? In the material world, no object or person or a relationship of this material world is so attractive that it catches us and holds us in the present for a long enough time. Okay. Maybe sometimes something like PUBG for a while, you know. You lose track of past and future. Okay. But that also only for a very short while. Okay. But in the spiritual world, when Krishna comes, he is so attractive, or anything connected to Krishna is so attractive that their mental space is totally occupied by the present. They can't think about the past and they can't think about the future. That is the meaning of there is no past and present. It's not that time does not move. There is movement of time, there is performance of past times. In Laghu Bhagavatamrita, there is a description that Akrura comes, takes Krishna to Mathura, and the devotees are feeling great separation. And after some time, Krishna comes back to Vrindavan. And when the Vrajavasis see Krishna, they are so mesmerized that suddenly they think that Krishna leaving Vrindavan probably was just a dream. They become completely absorbed in relishing the present, you know. In separation, also they are in the present. And when Krishna comes, in his presence also they are in the present. So Krishna leaving Vrindavan, they think that, oh, it must be like a dream, like that. So this third dimension of time is such that is due to the nature of spiritual reality. The material world, Srila Prabhupada says that the nature of material rasa is that it is bhoga, tyaga and chapala sukha. Okay, there is very meager pleasure, therefore chapala sukha. You know, you keep enjoying it and then you give it up. Okay, bhoga, tyaga like that. But in the spiritual world, spiritual reality is so tangible, it is so juicy that while in the present, they cannot think of past or future. That is the meaning of time always being in the present. There is no anxiety of future, there is no lamentation about the past. So Krishna comes to Vrindavan, they are completely absorbed to the extent that they think that Krishna leaving Vrindavan was just a dream. So, that's about time. Now we will talk a little bit about Krishna leaving Vrindavan. Okay, let's take this topic. We will discuss from whether Krishna leaves Vrindavan or not. Okay, this is a very big topic. Oftentimes there is no proper clarity about whether Krishna really leaves Vrindavan or not. Because we do hear Vrindavanam parityajya padam ekam na gacchati. He never takes even one step out of Vrindavan. But we do see in Bhagavatam, Krishna clearly leaves Vrindavan, goes to Mathura, goes to Dwaraka, and there is no mention of Krishna again returning back to Vrindavan till he leaves. At least in Bhagavatam, there is no description. Okay. Srila Rupa Goswami describes that Krishna's pastimes are of two types, Prakata Leela and Aprakata Leela, manifest and unmanifest. And what is Prakata Leela? Prapancha Gocharatvena Sa Leela Prakata Smrita. That which is visible to the eyes in the material world, that is Prakata Leela. Anyastu Aprakata Bhanti Tadrishyas Tad Agocharaha. But that which is not visible to the physical eyes, that is Aprakata Leela. And he says, Tatra Prakata Leelayam Eva Syatam Gama Agamau Gokule Mathurayam cha Dwaratyayam cha Sharanginaha. He says, only in Prakata Leela, Krishna comes and goes from Vrindavan, Mathura and Dwaraka. Okay. So, and even though the Prakata Leela becomes invisible after some times, like 125 years, it becomes invisible. But still, in the invisible form, Aprakata Leela is continuing. Okay, we cannot see that. Okay. So now, talking about Krishna's Prakata Leela, so we are going to discuss about whether Krishna leaves Vrindavan or not. So, in order to understand this, we have to start from Krishna's birth in Prakata Leela. Okay. There are three opinions about Krishna's birth in Prakata Leela. The first opinion is the more popular opinion that Krishna was born only to Vasudeva and Devaki, and Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda were his foster parents. This is the generic understanding. Bhagavatam also does not very explicitly deny this opinion. There is no Bhagavatam description of Krishna taking birth from Mother Yashoda. But there is a description of Krishna taking birth from Vasudeva and Devaki in Mathura. That is there. Okay. The second opinion, which the Vaishnavacharyas say, is that Vasudeva Krishna was born in Mathura, and Vraja Krishna was born in Vrindavan. And when Vasudeva brought Vasudeva Krishna from there, both Vraja Krishna and Vasudeva Krishna merged, and then they remained. This is second opinion. There is a third opinion, and we will see whose opinion is it. That the same Krishna was born to Vasudeva and Devaki and Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda. Okay. So, this is the opinion that is subscribed by our acharyas, the Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas. Okay. So, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Soyam nitya sutatvena tasya rajati anaditah Krishnaha prakatalilayam tadvarenapi abhuttata. So, he says, Krishna is the eternal son of both Vasudeva and Devaki. He does not say Vasudeva of the Chaturvyuha is the son of Devaki, and the Leela Purushottam Krishna is the son of Yashoda. No, he says Krishna. Okay. Even though in Prakata Leela they are eternal sons, but still in Prakata Leela they take birth. Okay, that is taking birth pastimes. That is there. Okay, so even though he was born of both, but only his taking birth from mother Devaki is explicitly stated by Shukadeva Goswami in Bhagavatam. Okay, that is for a specific purpose because it was Krishna's desire. Okay, Bhagavatam says, Nishite tama udbhute jayamane janardane devakyam devarupinyam. Janardane devakyam jayamane, it says. Janardan took birth from Devaki. But our acharyas say the word Devaki, the name Devaki is a name for Mother Yashoda also. One of her names was Devaki. So Devakyam Jayamane indirectly, very secretly indicates that he was born out of Devaki, the wife of Vasudeva, and Devaki, which is the other name of Mother Yashoda, both. Okay. And a very interesting point is mentioned by our acharyas in the Harivamsha Puran. Okay, there is a mention that Devaki and Yashoda gave birth at the same time. Garbhakale tu asampurne ashtame masi te striyau Devaki cha Yashoda cha shushuvate samam tada. It is mentioned that Garbhakale tu asampurne, when it was a premature birth. Krishna took birth in the 8th month. Devaki cha Yashoda cha shushuvate samam tada. At the exact same time, both of them gave birth, it is mentioned. Harivamsha also does not say Yashoda gave birth to Krishna. It is mentioned that they gave birth at the same time, that's all. But if you see Bhagavatam's description, there is a slight difference. Okay. Tatascha shaurir bhagavat prachoditaha sutam samadaya sa sutika grihat yada bahirgantum yesha tarhyaja ya yogamaya ajani nanda jayaya. It says that after Devaki gave birth and then there were prayers exchanged and all that, and then finally Krishna arranged for everyone to fall asleep, and then Vasudeva took Krishna, and just when he was about to step out, Tarhi, at that point of time, it is mentioned that Mother Yashoda gave birth to Durga or Mahamaya. That is mentioned. So there is a difference between the description of Harivamsha Puran and Bhagavatam. Harivamsha says same time. Bhagavatam says there was a time lag between Devaki giving birth to Krishna and Yashoda giving birth to Maya Devi. So this is reconciled by our acharyas by telling both are right. Harivamsha is right and Bhagavatam is right. At the same time, Devaki and Yashoda gave birth to Krishna, and after some time, Yashoda also gave birth to Yogamaya. This is the explanation that is given. Okay. And why Mother Yashoda did not know that she gave birth to 2 children, or even if she gave birth to 1, why she did not know her gender, that gender properly, gender of that baby? Naveda natad veda parishranta nidraya apagata smritihi. Because she was completely tired due to the labor of pregnancy, that she forgot. She did not notice. Now, so therefore, even though Bhagavatam does not explicitly say that Krishna took birth from Yashoda also, there are proofs from the other literatures, and even indirect proofs from Srimad Bhagavatam, which Srila Rupa Goswami quotes here. In Adi Puran, Narada Muni says, Nanda Gopa Grihe Putro Yashoda Garbha Sambhavaha. Yashoda Garbha Sambhavaha, he says. Nanda Gopa Grihe Putro. Okay. And also, in Bhagavatam it says, Nandastu Atmaja Utpanne Jata Khlado Mahamanaha. Atmaja. Krishna is said called as Nandatmaja. Atmaja means born from one's own body. Even though the explicit mention of his taking birth is not there, these subtle hints are there in Srimad Bhagavatam. Nayam sukapo bhagavan dehinam gopika sutah. Gopika sutah is mentioned. So Gopika sutah means son of Yashoda. Okay. So now the question is, why did Shukadeva Goswami not explicitly mention about Krishna taking birth from Yashoda? This question arises. So Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan says this is Krishna's intention. What was Krishna's intention? Krishna communicated to Shukadeva Goswami that I will appear in the house of both Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev, but I will remain only in Nanda Maharaj's house with one form, not two forms. Because if I have two forms, then Kamsa will know that I have taken birth and he will persecute both Nanda and Yashoda and Devaki and Vasudev, both parents. Therefore, you, Shukadev, even when you are reciting the story, not that Kamsa is going to read the story of Shukadeva Goswami, but even when you are reciting the story, keep this secret. Don't explicitly reveal this secret. This was the instruction of Krishna to Shukadeva Goswami. But there seems to be a difference of opinion with respect to Krishna's birth. As we saw, there are three opinions. One is Krishna took birth only as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Okay. And the second is Vasudeva Krishna took birth from Vasudeva and Vrindavan Krishna took birth from Mother Yashoda. But our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas do not accept this explanation. There are some problems with this. Okay. Srila Rupa Goswami in Laghu Bhagavatamrita says, Kechit Bhagavata Prahur evam atra puratanaha vyuhaha pradurbhaved adyo griheshu anaka dundubehe goshte tu mayaya sardam Shri Leela Purushottamaha. Kechit Puratana Bhagavata, he says, some devotees of ancient times, which means prior to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, some of the earlier commentators of Bhagavatam, they say, Adyaha Vyuha, the first of the original Vyuha, Chatur Vyuha, that is Vasudev, Pradurbhaved Anaka Dundubehe Griheshu. He took birth in the house of Anaka Dundubi, which is Vasudev. Shri Leela Purushottamaha Goshthetu, Mayaya Sardam. But Leela Purushottam Krishna took birth in Nanda Maharaj's house along with Yogamaya. This is the explanation of Puratanaha Kechit Bhagavata, some old commentators. Then what do they say? Then when Vasudeva went to Gokul, he replaced the girl. He did not notice Krishna was there because Krishna covered himself. Then Vasudeva Krishna and Leela Purushottam Krishna, they merged. And then there was only one Krishna. And because it is very confidential, Shukadeva Goswami did not directly mention it. This is their explanation. Okay. But of course, they also say that, but indirectly, Shukadeva Goswami did mention about two Krishnas, Krishna taking birth from Yashoda also, Lakshma Shriye Mridupade Pashupangajaya, where Brahmaji himself is addressing Krishna as Pashupa Angaja, means born from the body of Pashupa, which is Nanda Maharaj. And so many other Gopika Sutaha, Nayam Sukapo Bhagavan Dehinam Gopika Sutaha. Like that, so many verses, indirectly it is mentioned that he is the son also. And this is further, this they quote another verse from Brahma Yamala, which is another literature, Vaishnava literature, where this verse comes, Vrindavanam Parityajya sa kvachit naiva gacchati. This verse they quote. They say that if Krishna does not ever leave Vrindavan, then this is the only explanation that we can give. That Vasudeva Krishna and Vrindavan Krishna, they merged with each other, and then while leaving Vrindavan, Vasudeva Krishna left, whereas Vrindavan Krishna stayed back in Vraja. So therefore, Vrindavanam Parityajya Padam Ekam na Gacchati, or Vrindavanam Parityajya sa kvachit naiva gacchati. This is their explanation. Seems very reasonable. But our acharyas say, this is reasonable only from a very superficial perspective. But if you go deep and try to understand the nature of the Vrajavasi's love for Krishna, are the pastimes which unfolded as described in Srimad Bhagavatam and other literatures. This seems like a very unreasonable explanation. Why? Because if this were so, then there would be no real pain of separation for the Vrajavasis. Because if Krishna was always there in Vrindavan, why are they expressing feelings of separation? It would not be real feelings of separation. Then why would Uddhava, why would Vasudeva Krishna send Uddhava to Vrindavan? What does he have to do with that? Right? Why would, if Krishna was always there in Vrindavan, why would the residents of Vrindavan go to Kurukshetra to meet Krishna? Which Krishna? They were going to meet Vasudeva Krishna? That would be meaningless, right? So these kind of roadblocks will be there if you take this explanation that they both merged and only Vasudeva Krishna left, Vrindavan Krishna stayed back. And you cannot resolve this by saying that Krishna is Purna Purushottam Bhagavan, so he has all his expansions inside his body. So when he left Mathura, the Chaturbhyuha forms also went with him, and when he returned back sometime later after killing Dantavakra, which is mentioned in Padma Puran, then he came back as Vraja Krishna. This kind of an explanation that they give. But this will contradict the Brahmayamala statement that Vrindavanam parityajya sakvachit naiva gacchati. He does not leave Vrindavan, take a step out of Vrindavan. So there are some problems with this explanation. So our Gaudiya Vaishnavacharyas do not appreciate this explanation. So now, what exactly is the understanding? So let us go to Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Kamsa orders Akrura to bring Krishna Balram to Mathura. Krishna Balram and Nanda Maharaj, they leave. Then Krishna goes there, kills Chanura, Mushtika, Kolaya, Peda, Kamsa and everyone. And he installs Ugrasen as the king. Then Nanda Maharaj and the cowherds, they leave for Vrindavan. But what about Krishna Balram? Do they leave or not? Okay. At least from the direct description of Bhagavatam, they don't leave. Only Nanda Maharaj leaves. Okay. But Bhagavatam says, Ityuktastau parishvajya nandaha pranaya vihvalaha purayan ashrubir netre sahagopair vrajam yayau. Nanda Maharaj was overwhelmed with affection upon hearing Krishna's words. Krishna said, okay, we will stay for some time here and then we will come back, you go now. All it took for Krishna and Balram to convince Nanda Maharaj to go back was just 10 minutes. Krishna mounted Nanda Maharaj mounted the bullock carts, he went back. Even though it is mentioned that pranaya vihvalaha, he was almost unconscious, but still he went back. So easily. We are talking about the Vrajavasis' love that they cannot remain separate from Krishna even for a moment. And it took just Krishna 10 minutes to convince Nanda Maharaj to go back to Vrindavan without him and Balramji. So therefore, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti in his commentary, he says, some experts in rasa cannot tolerate this direct explanation. There is something beyond this. What is it? So what happened? After killing Kamsa, Krishna and Balram go to pacify Devaki and Vasudev, and then they come back to Nanda Maharaj. They very affectionately speak to Nanda Maharaj. They say, oh, you have given us so much affection. Real father and mother are they who take care of, even though it may be others' children, but they take care of them as if they were their own children. We are very grateful to you. Now you please return to Vraja. As soon as we have some duties to fulfill here, we will pacify the Yadavas and then we will also come back. Okay. And then Nanda Maharaj leaves. So now, this explanation does not really illustrate the depth of the Vrajavasi's love for Krishna, which is often glorified so much. If it was so much, why did Nanda Maharaj immediately agree to leave? This question arises. How could he go back to, he could have at least decided to stay in the outskirts of Mathura. Okay, Krishna, we will also stay in the outskirts of Mathura and then we will go back together, he could have told. But no, he left. Okay. And further, the reasons that Krishna and Balram gave for them for wanting to stay back are very weak, not very tangible reasons. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, even Krishna and Balram were not convinced in their minds of what they spoke. And later, it is mentioned that only Balramji returned to Vrindavan. Bhagavatam does not explicitly mention about Krishna returning back to Vrindavan. So, where is Krishna's attachment to Vrindavan and the Vrajavasis remained alive? What about their attachment to Krishna? Okay. So this is a problem. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, this is just when Akrura was taking Krishna to Mathura, there is a verse which Tas tata tapyatir vikshya swaprasthane yaduttamaha santvayamasa sapremair ayasya iti dautyakaihi. Sapremair. When Krishna saw how much the gopis were struggling to maintain their lives when they saw Krishna leaving, Krishna sent sapremair santvayamasa. He consoled them with a loving promise. Ayasya, I'll come back, please don't worry, like that. And Shukadeva Goswami uses the word sapremaihi. This is Shukadeva Goswami's narration. He says, sapremaihi means they were filled with love. They were not deceptive words. Krishna really meant it. I will come back in 2 days. I will see the Dhanur Yagya and I will return the next day. This is what he meant. But if they were really sapremaihi, then Krishna must have returned. If he did not return, then they must have been deceitful words. Okay. At least after killing Kamsa, he must have returned. Okay, after killing Kamsa, maybe 1 day to take care of the Yadus, and then he must have returned. Bhagavatam does not mention. But still, Srila Shukadeva Goswami says, sapremaihi. They were words filled with love, not deceit. So how do you reconcile? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says, just when Krishna and Balram came to meet Nanda Maharaj to ask him to go back to Vrindavan, Krishna and Balram divided into 2 forms. And Nanda Maharaj and the other Gopas and all the Vrajavasis divided into 2 forms. Okay. One was the Prakata form, another was the Aprakata form. So the Nanda Maharaj who left was the Prakata version. So they were going to be experiencing feelings of separation from Krishna. Then one Nanda Maharaj and all the Gopas, they stayed back with Krishna. Okay. Then after 2 days, this Nanda Maharaj and the Aprakata Nanda Maharaj and the Vrajavasis, along with Aprakata Krishna and Balram, they went to Vrindavan. And from that time onwards, they were all together, no separation. But Prakata Krishna and Prakata Balram, they stayed back in Mathura. And the Prakata Vrajavasis, who were visible to everyone else, they were experiencing separation. Okay. So this is the explanation that is given. Why such a explanation? Why such a thing? Because you cannot neglect Vasudeva and Devaki's love and the Yadu's love for Krishna and their hankering to be with him. At the same time, you cannot neglect the Vrajavasi's love also. Krishna cannot ignore them. And Krishna's purpose of descent was to kill all the demons. The demons of Vrindavan were killed. What about the demons in Mathura, Dwaraka, etc.? Rukmini Devi is waiting for him. Satyabhama Devi, the Parijata stealing pastime has to happen. But at the same time, Krishna also has to show to the whole world the extent of the Vipralamba Bhava that is experienced by the Vrajavasis in separation from Krishna. So all of this has to be accomplished. Okay, not 1, not 2, but all. So therefore Krishna divided into 2. So the Prakata Vrajavasis were experiencing separation, whereas the Aprakata Vrajavasis were experiencing union. And both of this was happening in Vraja. These 2 parties would not meet each other at all. They existed separately. Okay. In the same place. Okay. Everything was happening. So then Nanda Maharaj left. Then it is mentioned, so it is mentioned that these two separate manifestations have respectively two different purposes. Two different purposes Krishna wanted to accomplish. So what was the need for the Prakata manifestation? Prakata means those who are visible and experiencing separation from Krishna. What was the purpose? Because Krishna wanted to show the intensity of the love of the Vrajavasis towards Krishna in separation. You know, especially as described in Bhagavatam in the Brahmar Geet, where Srimati Radharani, expresses that Divya Unmad, extreme form of divine madness in separation from Krishna. After seeing which, Uddhava was Asamaho Charanarenu Jushamaham Syad Vrindavane Kimapi Gulma Lataushadinam. He says, I don't want to go back. I want to just stay here as a shrub or a grass so that I can receive the dust from the lotus feet of the gopis on my head. So, this Krishna wanted the whole world to receive this from the mouth of Uddhava himself, who is considered as the greatest devotee outside of Vrindavan. This would happen only if the Prakata Leela, in which the feelings of separation are exhibited. What about the Aprakata manifestation? The purpose is Krishna wanted to show separation or no separation, the intensity of the love of the Vrajavasis towards me is not compromised. So even in association with Krishna, the Vrajavasis show the same love. Okay. So therefore, it is mentioned that I am skipping some portions because of time. So Krishna says, when Uddhava comes to Vrindavan, very, very important hint. We might miss it out. The first, when he sees the Vrajavasis, it is mentioned that the cows were running. The bulls were running after the cows. The cows were running after the calves to give them milk. The calves were jumping. There is a mention of a sound of flute. There is a mention of the Vrajavasis dressed very opulently and singing the glories of Krishna. Okay. Now, in the absence of Krishna, we know that the Vrajavasis don't dress very well. The cows will not give milk. The calves will not jump and enjoy. The bulls will not have an attraction towards the opposite gender. What is happening? But this is very subtly mentioned that as soon as Uddhava entered, Krishna wanted to give Uddhava a glimpse of what Vrindavan is like in his presence. The vibrant nature of that Vrindavan. Immediately in the next verse, Krishna goes to the house of Nanda Maharaj and suddenly there is gloom everywhere. Everyone is morose, dejected. It is mentioned that they did not sweep their house since the time Krishna left. There were cobwebs and, they stopped cooking. People from the neighboring villages, they used to come and deliver them milk, yogurt and everything so that they could sustain their lives. Sudden change. Yogamaya covers Uddhava and he says, he doesn't remember that he saw that vibrant Vraja. Okay. So, like that, so there are proofs within Bhagavatam as narrated by our Acharyas for the coexistence of these two Prakata and Aprakata Vrajavasis simultaneously in Vrindavan. Now, one last point. Okay, Prakata Vrajavasis, Aprakata Vrajavasis, if you say that the Vrajavasis' love is very deep, deeper than what we can ever imagine, even in the material world you see, when the husband passes away, oftentimes a very chaste, attached wife passes away very soon after that, unable to tolerate the separation. How is it that the Vrajavasis tolerated separation for so long and remained alive? Because if you say they remained alive, which is very clear from Bhagavatam, it means their depth of love was not very deep enough. Okay. So here, Srila Rupa Goswami explains that actually Krishna, when he left Mathura, he did leave Mathura. See, he did leave Vrindavan to go to Mathura. He hid his form as Nandanandan and acted, he was as if Vasudevanandan, Vasudev Krishna. And he performed pastimes in Mathura and Dwaraka. Okay. So, he says, Vraje prakata leelayam trin masan viraho amuna atrapi ajani vispurtihi pradurbhava upama harehe trimasyaha paratastesham sakshat krishnena sangatihi. Very important. Very important explanation. He says, In the Prakata Leela, in the manifest pastimes, where they are experiencing separation, he says, as soon as Krishna leaves Vrindavan to go to Mathura, they start feeling separation. Then after 3 months, Krishna returns back. And that is called as Avirbhav. That is called as Avirbhav. Krishna comes in a subtle form, unseen by others. And this is where we were discussing that as soon as Krishna comes, they experience lot of joy. And they think that Krishna leaving Vrindavan was just like a dream, like that they think. This is Avirbhav. After 3 months, Krishna comes. Then after that, he leaves. After spending some time, he leaves back. And then for 3 months, how did they maintain their lives? He says, Harehe pradurbhava upama vispurtihi, he says. So, there is something called as vispurti, like an anesthesia. Okay. Sometimes when you want to operate a particular portion of your hand, they may choose to give local anesthesia, where the patient can see his own hand being operated, but he will not feel the pain. Okay. So similarly, this Harehe Pradurbhava Upama Vispurti is like that kind of anesthesia which Krishna gives to the Vrajavasis so that they can maintain their lives for 3 months. But even that anesthesia is not very powerful enough for the Vrajavasis' love. For 3 months, it reaches such a crescendo that they are about to give their lives, then Krishna appears. Tasam avirabhut shaurihi, like that. So he comes and then they experience union for a while and suddenly the Vrajavasis think that, oh, Krishna leaving was just like a dream, they think. And then Krishna leaves. Then that Vispurti maintains them for 3 months, then again Krishna comes. Like that. And then, after many years, after Krishna kills Dantavakra, in Prakata Leela, Krishna actually comes. Okay, then he meets Krishna. This is mentioned in the Padma Puran. So, like that, in Prakata Leela, this is what happens. So, there are many proofs that Krishna gives, Srila Rupa Goswami gives. I will just mention only one proof for this. Okay, in the first canto only, Yarhi Ambujaksha Apasasara Bo Bhavan Kurun Madun Vata Suhrid Didrkshaya. The Dwarkavasis, when Krishna comes back from Hastinapur, they offer this prayer. My dear Lord, whenever you go to visit your relatives, Kurun Madun, they say. Kurun means Hastinapur, Pandavas are there. Madun means Mathura. Who is there in Mathura? All Mathuravasis were already shifted to Dwaraka. So after everyone got shifted to Dwaraka, it is very clearly documented that Mathura was empty. So here Dwarakavasis are telling, my dear Lord, whenever you used to leave Dwaraka and go to Hastinapur or Mathura, we used to feel like our life was gone. One moment used to look like years or ages. So now the question is, no one was there in Mathura. Which Suhrid is there in Mathura for him to go and take, meet? So he says, Mathura means Mathura Mandal, which includes Vrindavan. So Suhrid Didrksha means he used to go every once in a while to meet the Vrajavasis. This is the proof that our Acharyas give. So to conclude, does Krishna actually leave Vrindavan or not? Okay. So in Aprakata Leela, okay, Krishna actually leaves for 2 days to Mathura and then comes back with Nanda Maharaj and the other Vrajavasis. And Nanda Maharaj and the other male Vrajavasis, they don't experience any separation from him. Okay, in the Aprakata Leela. Okay. But the gopis for two days, they experience separation. In the Prakata Leela, manifest pastimes, if you consider Vispurti as Krishna's presence, then Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. Because Harehe Pradurbhava Upama Vispurti is there. That what we called as the anesthesia. If you consider Avirbhav, the Krishna's coming periodically, then there is 3 months separation. That is also not explicitly mentioned in Bhagavatam. But if you take the explicit, whatever Prakata Leela according to what is explicitly mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, then Krishna once comes after many years after killing Dantavakra. That also is not mentioned in Bhagavatam, it is mentioned only in Padma Purana. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.